Welcome to Financial Investing Radio, where you'll learn the secrets for consistent, high-probability returns in the financial markets for additional income to change your life. Grant creates consistent, high-probability trading systems for the financial markets and has applied them over the past 5 years. He's only recently started sharing these tried and true market secrets. As a gift to listeners, Grant is offering his high-probability indicators for free. Go to financialinvestingradio.com and download yours today. Now, here's your host and trading veteran, Grant Larson.
Okay, hey everybody, this is Grant. So it's early July 2017, and I was just looking at the different elements of the market. So I was looking at the E-mini futures and also the SPY. And over the previous 2 weeks, it's really been chopping around, right? After making some highs, it just chopped back and forth over the last couple weeks. The Nasdaq futures, though, have retraced. So they touched a high, and now they've really started to drop back off. They hit the 89 exponential moving average, so they're sort of sitting right on it at the moment. Oil futures have done a large bounce up about 6 days ago. And meanwhile, Apple, though, has started to drop about 2 weeks ago, and it's also sitting on its 89 EMA. I guess no big surprise there since they drive a good portion of Nasdaq activities. But anyway, when it comes down to you start asking yourself, so which way is the market going, right? You get all of these different viewpoints on it. So I'm interested in your thoughts, right? So email me at grant@financialinvestingsecrets.com. Tell me what you think. It's early July. Which way do you think it's going? Where's Apple going? Where's the SPY going? And so forth. Which direction do you think things are taking off? Well, so recently I had an opportunity to interview one of my mentors. And that was in I was in podcast 21. This caused me to think through the process of selecting a mentor. And as I started to think through it, I thought, okay, how have I gone through that, right? I've had two or three that have really been influential. So there's several things to consider when selecting a mentor. So there's 4 steps that I'm going to point out here. So the first step is to plan your roadmap to financial control. Now I'm going to cover this topic in an upcoming podcast. I'm going to talk more about what is the roadmap to financial control. All right, but that's the first thing you do. The second thing is, as part of your roadmap, set goals, right? Like, what are you trying to accomplish? What do you hope to achieve? The third step is to identify the investment strategies that align with your goals, all right? And then the fourth is to look for mentors that align with those investment strategies. So let me go through each of these in a little more detail. And so the first one, planning your roadmap to financial control. As I mentioned, I'm going to break that down into a series of 5 steps. I won't go through that right now, but the roadmap to financial control is simple enough that you can say, here are the major 5 steps that I'm going to go through that's going to put me in the driver's seat of my finances. All right. So again, in the upcoming podcast, I'll be discussing that. So let me move on to number 2. As part of your roadmap, you're going to set goals. Now, the financial goals align better with some investment strategies than others. So for example, if I'm looking for consistent cash flow to help me achieve, goals such as debt reduction, then some investment strategies are going to do better than that than others. All right. So if I'm looking for higher predictability, consistent returns, that's gonna drive me to invest in a certain way. Whereas if part of my goals and portfolio is to take on more risk but more potential upside, then my investment strategy is different as well. All right, so that's the second part. Okay. In other words, what I'm really saying is know thyself, right? So before we go grab a mentor, we're going to learn about ourselves a little bit. Plan our roadmap, identify our goals on our roadmap. Step number 3. We're going to identify the investment strategies that align with our goals. Okay, so generally what this includes is learning about various investment strategies first, right? So after that, you need to practice with those strategies in a safe manner. So practice with virtual trading or paper trading, right? Practice what does it mean to, buy a stock at this time or to short a stock, or what does it mean in order to sell or buy an option, or, there's several, actually many different techniques that you got to learn about and practice applying. All right. Now this is a key part of selecting a mentor, because you have to figure out what strategies fit your personality and that you use well. So you need to do a little bit of homework first before you just go and listen to someone, including myself, right? And selecting someone to work with. You should spend some time figuring out, all right, what's the right right mixture for me. So for myself, it took me a while to discover that I needed a two-pronged approach. I needed a cash flow strategy where I could expect high probability, low returns. That's a key part. But I also needed to have an area in my portfolio where I could take on more risk, but also more growth and more upside. So you keep those, break those apart, and there's different mentors for those. So the fourth step here is looking for that mentor that's going to align with your investment strategies. Now, this process is iterative, right? Over time, you might discover, like, there's this guy that I knew that was trading 2 or 3 years ago. All he would do is sell options. He just continued to sell options. And then I was just interacting with him recently, and he said, "Oh, just so you know, I've quit just selling options. I've gone to full-time day trading. I found out that actually fits me much better after all those years of just selling options." So it's an iterative process. You might discover over time another way of investing or trading that fits better for you as you continue to learn. So have the flexibility. So I've had several mentors, right? And each one's added a critical piece of the overall structure for me. So the mentor I had on my podcast recently, he understands the overall markets very well. He excels at cash flow strategies for options, and he also understands very well the need for each investor or trader to determine what system that they're either going to use or create. And in order for you to do that, you have to know enough about yourself, right? What your goals are, what your personality will tolerate or not tolerate, amounts of risk that you'll tolerate or not tolerating. You've got to find those things out and know what that is. So this mentor that I had, that I introduced you to, he looks at each step you take as part of your overall journey. So as I mentioned earlier, I discovered in my personality I needed a two-pronged approach, right? I needed cash flow, but I also, which is going to help me with, monthly bills kind of a thing. But I also knew that I needed on top of that to have a portion of my portfolio that was focused on growth and higher returns. So what I discovered was the need to find high probability growth opportunities. Now at the time I didn't realize that, right? I got sort of attracted to the fact of, oh gee, look, there's high return opportunity there, and you sort of get shiny object syndrome, right? You're like, oh, that's pretty to look at, look at those awesome potential returns. And it's kind of like that, what's that movie, A Bug's Life? It's that bug in A Bug's Life that's flying towards the bug zapper, and his fellow bugs are telling him, don't fly into it. And he's like, it's so beautiful, right? And he flies into it and of course gets zapped. So sometimes when you look at some of these, you can easily look at a chart and think, gosh, if I bought right here and sold right there, with one contract or with one share or whatever, I could make all this money. And then you just, what if I put in 10? What if I had 10 contracts or whatever? And then your mind just plays all these stupid games on you, and you get this, I'm going to fly into the bug zapper syndrome. And I remember people saying that to me when I first started trading and investing, and I didn't believe them. I was like, yeah, whatever. Okay, well, I've done it long enough. Yeah, I got to be really, really careful with that. All right, so it's important to know your personality. So I knew that I learned in trading that I needed to have a part that was going to give me a higher return. But what I later discovered was that I needed to find high probability growth opportunities, all right? there's trade opportunities out there that are not high probability that can give you a ton of money, but that's if you're willing to accept that risk. And at some point I learned to realize I'm not willing to accept a certain amount of risk. It's just not worth it. I will wait another 15 minutes, or I will wait another 2 days, or whatever it is, for that opportunity to show up that has higher probability. So what it did was it required more study on my part. And at the time I didn't realize it, but it required more study on my part. And so I found a mentor who excelled in that area. And hopefully one day I can get him on my podcast as well. He is very good at super high probability growth opportunities. And that sort of rounded out my portfolio. Tim with the strong cash flow strategies with options, and then this other mentor who's very strong in high probability growth opportunities. So again, it's super critical that you understand yourself, your goals, where you are in your journey as you pick a mentor. Without some kind of roadmap, then your investing and trading journey is going to be like Alice in Wonderland, I guess, right? If I recall, she was at a fork in the road at one point. She didn't know which way to go. She didn't have a plan. And at that point, any road may be okay, but that's not necessarily true, It's not necessarily the right thing for your goals. So you got to figure out the goals, figure out yourself, and then be intentional. Take some time to know how to be intentional and start working on your roadmap. All right, so stay tuned for the next podcast, and I will continue to go more detail into this. My name is Grant. Thanks for joining. Until next time, trade safe. Oh, and one more thing, I almost forgot. Don't forget to join me this coming Saturday, July 8th. I will be discussing at 12 p.m. Pacific time. I'm going to be doing a web class. I'm going to be discussing tips and techniques for getting started on your investment and trading journey. Until then, trade safe.
Thank you for joining Grant on Financial Investing Radio. Remember to subscribe and leave feedback. Don't forget to download your free high probability indicators before your next trade. Visit financialinvestingradio.com now.